Welcome to The Spirit of Business, episode number 95, Abandoning Retirement with Sarah McCrum and special guest Gail Spence. I'm in conversation today with Gail Spence. This is another conversation that I've been wanting to have for a long time, actually. I always want to get the full story out of Gail. I met her about 5 years ago. And probably the story will come out during this conversation. But Gail, first of all, welcome.
Thank you.
And would you like to start just by telling us a little bit about your money history? What did you learn? How did you learn about money?
Well, from my dad, basically, he was pretty tight-fisted. I feel like I remember as a kid, it was like I saw him come back from school one day. He was a school teacher in Los Angeles, and he had folded up his paper bag for his lunch and had it in his back pocket to reuse it. I thought, wow, we must really be poor, right? But yeah, he taught me that money didn't grow on trees, And at some point, when he said that to me, I took it really personally. I thought, man, I must have done something really wrong. Maybe I've been, there was like a guilt. There was like a guilt around this money thing too. Like, wow, how can I make this better kind of a thing. So this is really loaded. And so.
And how did that play out in your career once you were an adult?
Am I an adult? Yeah, I guess I am. Well, I just avoided it. I avoided it. I really didn't want to have anything to do with money. It was like, oh, well, I have a basic trust too that everything's going to work out, right? But I pretty much stayed busy with other things. I had a total trust that if I just do what, if I keep on keeping on, following what I want to do, what I want to create, everything will work out, right? So I've just been really busy honing my craft and doing what following what I felt that I was good at, right? It's always been artistic. And money just never played out for me. I knew, I had a knowing as a kid. Wow. 12-ish maybe. It was, pretty far back. And I knew I was going to be an artist, but it wasn't going to be like a Van Gogh type thing where I was going to be poor. I knew I was not going to be poor, but I was going to be an artist. I mean, whatever that means. So that much was pretty clear to me. It was like one of those aha moments. But I just stayed busy and was more interested in relationships and getting skilled. That's why I came to Denmark, right? I'm originally from the United States. You probably can hear my voice. Came to Denmark because that's where I felt like I could get a good training. I felt like it was a waste of time staying in school. I hated school. I was terrible at math. And that's also something that plays in my, okay, little story. My dad said to me when I was a kid and getting an allowance, and he loved showing off. He was so brilliant at math. He was a math teacher. So he said, so what would you rather have for your allowance? A dime every week or a penny? We'd start with a penny, and each week the penny would double. The amount of the penny would double, right? My mind couldn't really go there, right? So I chose the dime. And he just laughed at that. That was so funny. And then he proceeded to tell me how stupid I was choosing the dime, right? Because in no time, that penny was, like $100.
And then a lot more than that.
Yeah, but exactly. We're thinking Bitcoin and so forth, right? It's like, oh my God, that has really, that's kind of shown up for me, where I feel like my brain isn't wired for that, right? So I've just sort of pushed it in the background, and it's just been in the background. I've chosen relationships where I've let my husband take care of the money because I'm doing all the other stuff, the not the woman kind of thing, but it's kind of played out like that, and
Well,
it's
also
like,
the creative, you were doing the creative stuff, weren't you?
yeah.
So what you did do, which so many people didn't do, is, from what I can hear, you followed probably your passion. You followed the thing that you really, really wanted to do. You found your own purpose.
Yeah, I left math. I left math behind. Yeah, and I followed what I was good at. I mean, there was no question for me. It was like, forget college. There was no college I could go to because, the criteria was all academic, and I was so bored at school that well, I could probably get into something, but could I find a really skilled teacher that could teach me something? The answer is no, I could not. Right, and
So what was it you wanted to learn?
I wanted to learn the basics on how to, I wanted to have everything in my toolbox. I wanted to be able to make anything in the world that I wanted to make. I wanted to create with my hands, and I wanted to know how to do it. Right. And so the way I did that in the United States was I would throw myself into a project that was just so big that I would have to work out, find out how to do it. Right.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, I could. When I had never raised before, raising in silver where you make a piece of hollowware, right? So I thought, well, okay, I wonder how to do that. So I'll make a ladle, right? And the biggest piece of silver I could buy at this craft school in Tennessee, where I was a piece about this big. I thought, okay, I'll do that. I'll make a ladle, right? So I made a soup ladle. I mean, you wouldn't want a silver soup ladle, really, but so I put a wooden handle on it. Yeah, there's, and when I made my glasses the first time, I thought, well, hey, here I am. I've got this project, an assignment at the graduate studio in San Diego when I was there on a flute. And I had said to friends, well, you ought to make glasses. This is after I finished my training as a goldsmith in Denmark. And I had friends that were optometrists, and you got to make some glasses. I said, no way. You have to have the glasses, and they have to be fixed, and it has to rest on your nose, and all these things. You have to fold it together so you can put it in your pocket. There's just too much technical. Oh man, I don't want to deal with that. It doesn't sound like fun to me, right? I'm all into it's got to be fun. Should be fun. That's kind of a paradox for me because I work hard, really hard. But anyway, so here I come to this graduate studio with Arlene Fish in San Diego. And the main project for that semester is spectacles, right? So spectacles, everybody else in the class did something spectacular, right? A sculpture or some kind of a headgear or something. I thought, oh man, I know what that is. At the time I was beginning to have difficulty seeing really clearly close up when I work. So I thought, oh shit, I gotta make a pair of, half eyes for me to, so that I can see, because I can see fine, distant. So I started to, make a pair of glasses. And there was no way I was going to go to an optometrist and buy a pair of hinges and stick on my glasses. It had to be everything that I could do by myself, right? And so the way that works is when I got to the hinges, I thought, well, maybe a couple of screws. I was working in aluminum at the time. That was part of my, what we were exploring there in San Diego. And that's partly why I went there, because I'd just been working in gold and silver in Denmark. It's pretty traditional. So the whole structure of the frame was made so that I could make it by hand. And that meant that the structure itself was, instead of flat like this, I had it flat, so forth, so that I could make a screw that would go, the axle would go like that to, well, I can make it more easy if you can see this, right? Like this.
Yes.
instead of your normal that everything is hidden and so forth, because it was like, I'm not going to do that. So that's a good example of how I would, throw myself into a project. And then halfway through, this is kind of a fun thing too, that I noticed. I love metal. I mean, when I finally found out what I wanted to hone in on, which medium I wanted to work with, I tried clay and I tried textiles, and it was like the two-dimensional thing, painting. It was like, it's boring for me. I like building, constructing. I'm a constructor. So, or to go into that, well, the glasses, yeah, it was that's a good example of how it just turned out. The structure itself was based on what I could do with my hands, right? And I, the screws I turned on a lathe with the yeah, with the, what do you call it, the thread and everything. So yeah.
So, from what I understand, you went a long way with your glasses in the end, from laughing at your friends and not wanting to make them. Like, what happened there? Because you were at graduate school making your first pair of glasses, but it most definitely wasn't your last, was it?
Well, maybe I have to say that the semester, it was only one semester in the graduate studio. It was like, that was like it was just like a one-off deal. I had been working in the industry, in jewelry industry in Denmark, designing jewelry for a company, and I just really burned out. It was like I was just making better bread and butter stuff, to keep their company, so that they could continue to survive in a very difficult market. It was back when gold and silver was very expensive, and things were tight. But I was not liking anything I was making, and I just really needed to get out. So I knew Arlene Fish as a personal friend, and I called her. She says, "Well, Gail, school's starting in 4 days," and I go, "I'm going to be there. I will be there for that semester." And I got myself situated and went over there. So that was just one semester, and then that project was announced, and I just knew that it was almost like the gods are speaking to me. Okay, oh man, okay, this has got your name on it, definitely. And it was magical. This is what I wanted to say before. At some point in the process, the material takes over and it starts speaking to me. And it's like, hey, this is not working. Your idea, change it. And it's always been a simplification in the construction. It's like, this is not working. You gotta regroup, rethink this. So anyway, yeah. So how can I make this long story short? So I come back to Denmark, and I mean, everybody just went crazy when they saw my glasses. It was like, oh, wow, those are so cool. I want a pair. And I was really happy, and they were working good. And I had my prescription lenses in, just, around campus. And it was really fun. And so I knew this was going to be a big thing. And I thought it was going to be a success in Denmark. But they were too huge, and they were too colorful, and they were too like in your face. And then Danes are very, ooh, don't make any waves, don't be seen, it's like, but they were huge. Oh yeah, I'm jumping over it. So I come back to Denmark, and I get connected with Pro Design, and
Which is a glasses company.
At the time it was and they're still very, very large, a Danish company that have glasses produced all over the world. And so I went up there, and I said to myself, this is my business ability. I said, okay, I'm not gonna, what was it I said? I'm not going to sign anything, and I'm not going to give them my glasses. And I think I did both. I signed a stupid contract. Well, it was actually not a too stupid contract, but yeah, so that just really got the ball rolling. I mean, I had a good feeling, and there was a playfulness about it, and I just trusted that was gonna work out, and it did. It went viral. I mean, today you would say it went viral. It got it got, I mean, the celebrities in Hollywood at the time, they used to always go to the glasses fairs ahead of time, so that they could get what was going to come out, right? And everybody had them. I mean, Barbra Streisand, Cher, and it was in the movie The Hunt of the Red October, one of the actors, one of the main actors. It wasn't Sean Connery and it wasn't Alec Guinness either, but they were both in the very good movie. But it was a Black guy who was starring as their, on the submarine. He was a sonic navigator, right? And he had his own pair where he wore his own pair of glasses, and they were just so often on the screen. It was a total delight. Oh, and more recently, Werner Panton. He's a very world famous Danish designer. I saw a documentary with him, and lo and behold, you see this side view of him, and he had a pair of my glasses on, And it's so typical because they were so colorful. His color choice was turquoise, pink, and orange. Those were the colors, and they're huge, right? Miles Davis, his last concert in Montreux, he had a pair of glasses, a pair of half eyes. And Miles Davis has always had huge shades and so forth. And then he finally got these. It was just like amazing. It was amazing.
It's an amazing story. Did you make lots of money out of that?
I did. I got at one point, and I was starting to make more money than my husband, and that was not a comfortable situation. He didn't like that too much. Anyway, he wouldn't admit it. But anyway, yeah, I did. And when it really started, but it kind of got out of control because the company went broke and they went out of business. And so I lost some money too. I mean, but they regrouped. Oh, and then there was a whole hijacking of my design. So for a year and a half, another company took my design and were producing them exactly.
Wow.
The whole frame. It was the producer in Italy. I mean, he got burned because he had a whole load. He had a whole shipment ready to go, and he couldn't afford that, right? And so Pro Design went down, and so he had to get rid of it. I mean, I don't hold that personally or anything. I know that I love the man that was the director. So. I mean, he had to survive. He had to keep his people in work, but it went on for a long time, and it ended up in a huge, it landed in court and so forth. I didn't have anything to do with that. That was Pro Design. I mean, that's the kind of thing that was on their side of the responsibility of the contract. So, yeah, but it was really weird walking around in a glasses fair in Paris and see these sleazy guys. I mean, they were really sleazy, that had these glasses and were selling them, outright as theirs, and everybody knew they weren't theirs. It was
okay. So let's fast forward a little bit. I'm sure there's a lot more history, but let's fast forward to when we first met. It was a very memorable conversation for me. Mm-hmm. And by this time you were retired.
Yeah. I really wanted to get retired, but yeah, that was my status there. Things had just kind of fizzled out. Like, yeah, I had.
So my memory of it, you were retired. You wanted to do a course. You had to ask your husband every time you wanted some money. Yeah. And it's so that your money situation was very contracted. That's what I remember.
Yeah. And for me, I'd never done anything like that. It was a retreat in England. I'd never been to England, it would require me traveling, buying the ticket, and the retreat itself was more expensive than anything I'd ever done in my life. I mean, I don't do stuff like that. And it's like the thought had never occurred to me, but I just decided that I had to do it because just the whole idea of delving into money.
So this was a retreat that was called The Consciousness of Money.
The consciousness, yeah, I almost forgot. The consciousness of money. And I just knew it pushed so many buttons. It pushed so many friggin' buttons. So I thought, you gotta go there. I don't know how you're gonna do it. And it felt so heavy to ask my husband, because I didn't even want to. And I knew that it felt irresponsible. It felt like I was wasting money. Well, it was like, why couldn't, there was just so much stuff. I didn't want to do it. It felt like, this is my thing. I want to pay for it. Right. But we both put all of our money in a common pot. And my husband was the kind of person that, oh, we got to save it for, when we get older. Right. so I said, I remember you saying, well, you must have something you can sell. Well, selling, I mean, right there, I get all kinds of the lights start flashing. It's like, so.
Yeah, I remember I was just trying to find some way that you could, that you could find a legitimate way to do this.
Yeah.
In the way that you wanted to. You didn't want to go and say to your husband, oh, please, can I have this money to go and do this thing? You actually wanted to do it yourself.
Yes.
And we had this amazing, this is where you started mentioning earlier, Barbara Streisand used to wear my glasses, and Miles Davis, all these people you mentioned to me. I was sitting there. I was right high up in the mountains in Colorado, sitting on a rock with this you who I'd never met before, who'd booked a discovery call with me, from what I remember. We're having this conversation, and I discovered that you have this incredible history. And you still have glasses. I was thinking, oh, maybe she could sell them as collector's pieces, for thousands of euros a piece. I remember that you weren't very impressed at that idea.
Well, there was a lot of details that I felt like couldn't really work out, but the biggest hurdle was for me to be all of a sudden poke my head up, not be hidden anymore, and say, hey, you want to buy they were hand samples, actually, with some alternative colors, and they weren't really the thing that I wanted to sell, but obviously I could sell them, but I didn't know how in the world. I had spent all this time trying to, not be in the limelight or not be visible and just kind of disappear. And now all of a sudden, where is everybody? I got something to sell, and how do I do it? And I just didn't have I didn't have the tools. I didn't know how to do it online. And it was like Facebook was a nightmare to do anything on Facebook or whatever, however I would do it.
But you came to the retreat.
I did. I came.
Did you ask your husband?
I can't remember how I got the money, but I just, I guess it was kind of like on knowing that, so the thing that I did do was, I said to you at the time, I need to contact Pro Design because I'm still on contract. I had just let it slide, right?
They'd come back by this time, hadn't they? They'd gone out of business and then they came back into existence.
For many years. I had continued to work with them after they came back. They came back I started work. I stayed. My contract was still, yes, I kept working with them throughout the bankruptcy and everything. So, but I didn't like the people that were working there. So I hadn't any contact with them, but their whole system had renewed, and they had a new director and a whole new, board and so forth. And the people that I knew were not there anymore. Right. So, but I still had this contract that they owned everything. Right. It was their rights. So I couldn't go start selling stuff without saying, hey, I've got some hand samples. Can I sell them? And I knew it wouldn't be a problem. But for me, I would have to make contact. So I called them and talked to the director, who I've never met before. He said, wow, that is so funny. I've been meaning to get in touch with you. And I haven't talked to these people for years. Right. I'm going, oh, yeah. Yeah, we have an idea. We're coming up to, I think it was a 30-year or something, and we want to bring back your glasses. We want to relaunch this iconic series. I'm going, oh, okay, and thinking, I don't know what I was thinking, but yeah. So that that's starting to work, right? So we set up a meeting.
This is so interesting for me, because at the point you start to get interested in money, you start to, you come and do something about the consciousness of money. At the same time, all of this is just beginning to stir. And I never see it. It's like, oh, she did the retreat and so that happened. Or that happened, so she did the retreat. It's like it all moves together. And that's what's so amazing.
It was already happening,
Yeah. And you didn't even know.
I had no idea. It was good that I called them, because I mean, they don't ride the same day that they saddle their horse, right? It's like, it probably could have taken a long time. And then COVID came, and that put everything really on the low, slow mo.
So what I remember is, because we then met, you did another retreat and you did a course, you've done various things over a few years. And my picture, which might be quite different from yours, is of me kind of asking you all the time, what about the glasses? What about the glasses? And at times you were like, oh my God, I can't do the contract, or they're going to cheat me or something. There were all these kinds of ups and downs that you went through. And it was a kind of long ongoing saga. But what I do remember is you never dropped it. You never said, I'm retired, whatever. Even when your husband got sick and all of that, you never actually dropped it. And I think many people would have done. They would have just said, oh, it's too much, I don't know how to do this or whatever. But you didn't. You actually just stuck there with it. Sometimes, as far as I can see, there were maybe 6 months. Something happened. It was 6 months before something else happened. It was like a lot of persistence.
Yeah.
So can you fill in your side of the story?
Well, I really felt, I don't want to say victimized, but in a way I felt like I had been taken advantage of by the original contract. And there was something specifically in that really fucks over the designer in the industry,
Was that normal in those
times? Especially, well, kind of. I don't know anybody else in my situation. People are much more I don't really, that have stuck with it and are still glasses designers that are not totally owned by the company, and it's gotten in the 30 years that I've been involved in the glasses industry, it has gotten so everybody's keeping secrets, and everybody's holding their stuff and don't want to share. And in the beginning, you could go to glasses fairs, and walk around and be totally inspired by not only the people there, the clothes and the glasses and everything, but the new upcoming people and the older people, they would show their new lines. And it ends up now, you walk through corridors of these temporary aisles, you can't see anything. They don't want to show you shit, right? Because they're afraid that somebody's going to take it and beat them to the market, right? So it's just, anyway, that's that kind of a sidetrack. So here I am, I don't know nothing about any of this stuff, right?
But you knew that you didn't want to be cheated. You knew that there was something not right, and it had to be better this time. I remember that.
Yeah, I want, because my experience was honing down I get paid by royalty based on sales, right? And my royalty figure kept going down and down and down and down and down. And what I didn't see at the beginning was, when they would take a frame back, I would have to pay that royalty back. And they take a lot of frames back, They want to stay on the good side of their customers. So if customers get something that is not maybe right for them, or they can't, it's a wrong color or something, they take it back. And every time they take something back, of course, they're going to recoup theirs, because they trade it something else, right? But I have to pay back my royalty then. And it could not even be because of the design itself. It could be because it's a manufacturing glitch, because they're running so fast to get things to market that they kind of, we'll work that out later, right? And it never gets worked out later. It's just a run to the market first, right? So it could be no fault of my own that things get pulled back. and then all of a sudden I owe them a hell of a lot of money. And I ended up that way. It was like I couldn't get out of this in a nice way. How can you retire from something if you have a whole bunch of stuff on the market that's going to be taken back, right? And sold at like, they have these crash sales, right? Well, this designer still has to, it's like, I didn't think that was fair. And I just really fought really, really hard to get that out of the contract. There was just no way. So it's in the contract. I couldn't get it,
So it's still in your new contract. But
yeah,
you have a better contract now?
Time will tell. I mean,
You have a contract. You have a contract and your glasses have been released. Can I share the website?
Yes, you can. And I can just say that I have no idea how. I haven't had an indication yet. They've been on sale now for a quarter, for 3 months, but their market is so big, I have no idea.
Well, let's have a look. It's probably 6 weeks ago that Gail sent me an email saying, "Hey, Sarah, have a look at this." And this is the prodesigndenmark.com website. This is the icons. Those are your glasses. Look, Gail Spence, icons #1, your glasses. It's to me, because, I follow the stories through of people that I hear bits of people's stories, often unfolding over years. And when I see one like this, that it is really a few years since we first met, I see this is the first stage of the fulfillment, but I see that you've gone all the way through, and here it is out in the world. It just gives me such pleasure to see something like that. Yeah. Because that's not Gail Spence. I love that. It says this is Gail Spence. It's really not Gail Spence, but
well, it's nice that they use a young man.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so here she is. She's out in the world again, no longer a retired woman, but actually heading for a second success. That's what I wish for you. Yes. Why not?
Yes, definitely. Not? Well, yeah. I'm confident. I mean, and that's what's happened. That's what's happened through all this. I have, maybe not because of the work that I've been doing. It's just been one step ahead. Just one step at a time. I mean, Pro Design has done a lot of work to get this to market and so forth. But yeah, I have a confidence now that I didn't have before. I mean, I know that I can do this. Yep. It's like, I have done this and I can do this and I have so much more. And I'm really feeling that in my body, that I have something, and it's not just the glasses, it's who I am.
And that's actually, when I first met you, I would say that's a really, really big shift.
It is.
That's happened. I think there's something that happens often when people retire, and it's almost like they give up on a part of themselves, and it feels to me like yourself has come back.
Well, it's kind of shown up for the first time, I think. First time in my life. Yeah. I've existed for other people. I've been the people pleaser big time.
Wow.
And this being alone has been such a freedom. I mean, I'm totally, my shackles are off.
So this is what? How long ago? Your husband died? What, 6 months ago? Is it?
He died in April.
Wow.
21. Yeah.
Almost 9 months ago now. It's 8 months ago.
Yeah, and it's still just the relief, and I'm still I'm in awe of how much I've been held down and controlled. I mean, it's not something I blame him. I chose this situation.
You chose that, yeah.
Oh yeah, I did. And so it's just amazing to me that you can choose that,
So, I mean, and you're so independent spirited in a way. Look, there you were. You went from America to Denmark to learn how to work because you thought that they were the finest jewelers or whatever in the world, and you wanted to learn that special thing that they have. Young girl, that's so pretty independent actually. And then you go off to the story you told where you went to the course and did the glasses. You're told this is starting in 4 days, and you say I'll be there. So you're not you're clearly not a shy, retiring, entirely people pleaser. You actually had quite a strong mind of your own. So that's really interesting, I think, that you could at the same time choose to be in a relationship where you surrender so much of your own power and all your financial power in a way, at least at the end.
Yeah. Yes, I did. Yes. Yeah.
What have you learned about money?
Well, money can be fun. That's basically what I think I've learned. Money can be fun. I don't know how much fun I'm having yet, but it can be, and it should be. It should be. I'm all about fun. I really am. And but for money to be fun, and what have I learned about money? Yeah, I'm learning to get to know money. I'm learning to face it head on and work with it. I mean, in well, I have to bring another thing into it because disrespect for authorities is a big thing for me. I mean, I'm all about, I don't want to have anybody telling me what to do or, telling me where my money is going to be or that kind of a thing. So I inherited our savings, right? And it wasn't in a fashion that I thought was a good way, right? So I've just been really scrambling in the whole time where my husband was sick and when he was dying. I'm scrambling, trying to find out how to invest in cryptocurrency and get myself smart really fast. I didn't even know how banks worked, and I was horrified at the amount of control that they had over my money. And it was like, one of the first times where I wanted to invest in some Bitcoin, the bank closed down on the transfer. And I was furious. I said, what are you thinking? It's like, oh, well, we're money laundering and what do I know? And I'm thinking, hello, you know me. These are my savings. You know where the money comes from. It's not like, what are you thinking? Oh my God. So it's really, I'm really I don't want to say scrambling, but yeah, it has been really a fast ride to get savvy as far as money and markets. And I know, yeah, it's huge. I just really have a huge, and it's exciting. I mean, I love learning new stuff. I do. I really love learning new stuff. So it's like, there's not enough hours in the day. I'm not retired. I've never been retired. It's like, I've always got stuff going. So this is just really huge.
What have you learned about yourself in these last few years?
What have I learned about myself? I used to think that I could do anything. And then I got older and careful. I got older and I thought, oh, well, that's because you were young and stupid, right? You thought you could do everything. But I've turned a corner again and I'm back there. I can do anything. I can just do anything. And I'm going to. Yeah. Yeah. We all can, It's just that we've been brainwashed.
I have to ask you one final question.
Okay.
What is money to you now?
Future. Yeah. What is money to me now?
What is money? What is money?
Opportunity. Communication. Not like the communication is stupid. Yeah. everything. I mean, it's life. It's well, learning about it and just relating with it and using it and changing it into this form or that form, or being able to support. For me right now, it's just really, I feel blessed that I can support good things. There's some really good things going on out there, and I can support that, right? I can buy this summit because they did a fantastic job, and it's a win-win thing because I get a lot of good information. I know more stuff, and the people that have been behind it have a sense of, yeah, we have more money to do it again. It's like, that's great. It's empowering, helping people. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Gail.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you, Sarah.
It's so nice, just so nice to hear the story, the whole unfolding, and the details of a personal story about money and about work and about what you love and about your life.
Thanks for asking the question.
You've been listening to The Spirit of Business with Matt Murphy and Sarah McCrum. If you'd like some insight into the spirit in which you do business, a great place to start is by looking at your relationship with money. Find out more by taking the Money Scorecard at moneyscorecard.app, and we'll be back next week.